Alright, let's finish this drawing. So this is the last part to the reductive charcoal drawing, and that means we're going to put in our details, our highlights, and any final blending, diluting, etc. Alright, so I'm going to start with darkening things to get them to pop. So let's start with this object here. I am going to put in the secondary shadow that's being made because of my other light source, and it looks like I'm going to have to use a darker charcoal stick to pull that off. So it's casting this darker shadow back here on the fabric. I have the same thing back here and this cast shadow on the wall. Put that in. Sometimes I don't put this shadow in, but I'm just going to see how it looks, and if it seems like it's a little corny, doesn't seem to match, I'll just take it out. But I'm going to put this in. Adjusting the size of it. So again, this is caused by the secondary light source, and it happens only in specific places. It's kind of what I like to call anomaly cast shadows. It only happens in certain places. But usually it's a result of another light source that creates it. So I'm just laying it in certain places where I'm seeing it, and then I will go back and blend it just a little bit so it's not so obtuse or in your face, because when you put them in, you're just like, that just doesn't look right, it's way too much. Let's see. So it's kind of seek out, search, and destroy. Put it in. And you don't want to blend these too much, otherwise they sort of disappear. I mean, in some places they might. Again, so this is a fine detail. This is something that you leave towards the end of your drawing, because a lot of times you will destroy them or negate them. Alright, so that takes care of that. I'm going to use a Q-tip to tone these down. It's like giving it a a shot of Jack or a Quaalude. And I'm almost just touching it, not going into it too much. And as I look at them, as I see them, they're pretty hard edged. They're not too smooth, but I kind of want to smooth in the interior of them. I'm just using a Q-tip. Get out of my way. There we go. Alright, so that takes care of that. Alright, white charcoal. So the white charcoal is here for its highlights. So I'm going to work with the sugar bowl lid first. And I'm looking to where the strength of the light source is hitting it with quite an extreme. I want to be careful that I don't heavily outline a lot of specific objects. Because I don't want to blend the white charcoal, or try and avoid blending it as much as I can. Because when you blend the white charcoal back into the dark charcoal, it has a tendency to do this weird muddy grayness. Here's the spoon. Fine details. Again, I want to point out that when you look at these drawings really close, especially you as the artist, you're going to be really aware of all the marks that you made, because you've spent a certain amount of time on this. So what I'm saying is you're going to be your worst critic. When you have someone else look at the drawing, and most likely they'll be looking at it from quite a distance, you know, whether it's on the wall or leaning on your easel or just laying on the table, because they haven't spent as much time with it as you have, they are going to be flabbergasted, amazed. So knowing that, you can use that to your advantage, and it's always good to have someone that hasn't seen this drawn to its full capacity and get their opinion about it. And you can, you know, ask them questions to the certain aspect of, you know, do you think it has this quality? What do you think of this, that, etc. And you'll discover that family members generally will pat your back and stroke you and not say anything bad about it. But if you get a friend to look at it, and granted this will be sometimes kind of difficult to get a friend to come over and look at it, you can always photograph it and send it to them. You might be surprised at their reaction to your drawing. So I'm using the white charcoal in a way to, I always like to kind of consider it as bling, to really pump up the lighter values in a charcoal-like manner, but because it's the white charcoal, it's working in the opposite direction. So instead of darkening an area, I'm lighting it, or adding more light to it. But this is like those final touches that just need to be done, that are difficult to pull off with the eraser and the charcoal itself. But it really requires that you spend or make the effort to really look to see where these details are occurring, how strong they are, and then best to your ability, lay them in. Otherwise, a lot of times it just looks like you've gone over it in such a manner that it seems like you really didn't know what the white charcoal's point was and what it's doing. It's like, why? What is he or she trying to facilitate with it? Okay, let's see. If lines seem like they're too strong, you can always just take your finger or your blending stump and hit them real quick, so it kind of tones them down. But any little details that you see that you can put in will help. You can really play with not only the value change, but also the perspective of parts of the forms, so that the quality of their perspective becomes even more stronger, more believable, in the sense that you are strengthening its illusion. Right. Strong highlights. And you notice if you press harder with the charcoal, the white charcoal, you can really make a highlight more pronounced. So you'll find that this tool is, depending on the amount of pressure you're exerting, will give you a certain quality of whiteness. And with that in mind, that control that you're trying to achieve with your attempt to create the illusion of 3D photoreal, especially when you're dealing with those highlights. All right, it's coming together nicely. All right, there is a pattern on this coffee set, and now as I look at the still life and I look at the items I've chosen, it's going to be quite a task to do it. So what I'm going to do is I will do the pattern on one of these objects, and then I will then finish the video, and then I will photograph the video, or I'll photograph the video. I will photograph the end product once I've done the pattern on all the objects, and you can see the end product. But essentially I'm using the dark charcoal and the white charcoal to put in my fine details and then making any blending changes. But for the most part I've taken care of all the blending. Might just kind of go back and kind of take the roughness out of some of these. I'll do that real quick. And so I'm going to do the pattern on the, well, let's see. I'm going to do the pattern on this coffee cup. So I'm just going to lightly put in 3 lines that rounds like a cross contour line on the coffee cup. And what that'll do is it'll help me land these tick marks. So the pattern, it's from the photo you can see that it's originally this is a green coffee set with the white attributes, and the pattern are these white tick marks that wrap around kind of from the halfway point down to the bottom. And it's a repeating pattern, so it makes it predictable in terms of repeating it over and over. Alright, now I have my pattern in. I'll go back and I'll tweak it a little bit more, but on this side, because it goes into shadow, what I want to do is take a paper towel that's already dirty, and I'm going to just stamp it, like just push on it. And what that'll do is it'll slightly make these a little bit darker but not smear them. So all I'm doing is I'm pressing down, and then as it rounds out here they stay bright. Alright. Okay. Just kind of lighten this area here. Give it that glazed sort of ceramic look. Strong highlight, strong highlight. Show the edge or the thickness of the ceramic. Those highlights. So there's some reflective qualities that are going on here. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to stop the video. I will finish out with these particular details on the other objects, I will photograph that, and it'll be in the PowerPoint lecture. You'll see the end product. Okay, so this finishes the video, the 4-part series of doing a reductive charcoal drawing of a 5-item still life. All right, so take care.